Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've got some not so great news today when it comes to Call of Duty and the cheating situation, as a recent update, surprise, surprise, has backfired a little bit when it comes to COD gameplay, and it seems like it's going to introduce, or really has already introduced, another significant cheating problem that's going to affect you whether you play Warzone or multiplayer. If you run into cheaters now, the increased chance of them doing some absolutely ridiculous cheese in game has surfaced, I guess is the way to put it. With a new update that we got earlier on this past week, a new mode was introduced into Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer. This is called Arcade, and quite frankly, as a mode itself, it's actually pretty fun. It introduces a few very quirky updates. For one, the mode does technically have floating loot. When you go and you jump into a match of Arcade, you're going to see various power-ups that are floating across the map. They're highlighted in green. There's various weapon power-ups you can pick up as well, and this loot is very visible and easy to interact with, as it is in fact floating loot. So as a weird caveat here, yes, multiplayer in Modern Warfare 3 has indeed gotten floating loot before Warzone has gotten it since its removal with Warzone 2. So that's kind of an L as it is, because floating loot would be a game changer in Warzone and way better for the overall game flow, at least in my own opinion. But outside of the fact that this mode has floating loot, it also introduces some very fun upgrades for standard gameplay. There is an unlimited ammo power-up where if you run over that piece of floating loot, you just can spray and pray and you never have to reload until the timer ends up running out. There's also an unlimited frag grenade upgrade where you can just spam frag grenades over and over and over and over again. Also very funny while that lasts. There are specific weapon upgrades as well. In this mode specifically, there is a MWIII blueprint that you can pick up that actually has explosive ammo. So you shoot a MWIII, and even if you don't hit the player with it, if it hits a wall behind them or it hits the ground in front of them, it causes an explosion. And even more busted and hilarious than that is the rocket launcher Riveter blueprint that you can find. Yes, a Riveter shotgun that also has explosive ammo. And you run over, like, let's say, an infinite ammo upgrade while you have that Riveter with the explosive rounds in your hands, and yes, you basically have an unlimited ammo rocket launcher that you can spam. Now, in multiplayer as a mode, like I said, this is very fun, it's very unique, and it's quirky. It's a cool one-off LTM. Unfortunately, though, this mode is having similar impacts that these zombies power-ups did back on Fortune's Keep when those were first introduced. And the examples here are concerning to say the least. A new article that went up on Charlie Intel recently, Warzone hackers unlock rocket bullets, and it's just as game-breaking, and it's going just as well as that sounds. And you scroll down through their article, and there are clips of players now abusing these in Warzone. For instance, this is a clip on Rebirth Island, obviously, where there is a constant explosion going on. No one really knows what's happening until you run into this player who takes them out with a Riveter. You can see they're spamming it with unlimited ammo, and it is exploding. They also have some unreleased camos here as well. So, yeah, safe to say, it's a very big problem. And you may recall that within Warzone, when Fortune's Keep first dropped, there were all those power-ups. You could get the super speed, you could get all sorts of stuff like that, and hackers were actually modding the game files with their cheats or whatever to give themselves super speed and to give themselves all those zombies power-ups. And now the same thing is happening here as well with these arcade mode power-ups with an explosive MWIII and unlimited ammo and an explosive Riveter. And unfortunately, it's not just gonna happen in Warzone either. Lunchtime ended up posting saying hackers are also dropping RPG shotguns in ranked play. Now, a bit of post-edit Zach here, because of course, right after I recorded this commentary in this video, they dropped some patch notes, and actually, curiously enough, in said patch notes, they have something that says they resolved an issue causing arcade mode weapons and power-ups to retain in other playlists. So if this actually functions as intended, it at least stops this issue from happening to a certain extent. Now, they also tried to combat this in a similar way with patch notes when the power-up hacks were going on, and it didn't really solve those until several updates down the road, and they started actually banning those accounts more strictly, it seemed like. So while it's great that they might have already been able to combat some of this, it still leads into the greater issue that I'm going to get into now. and it highlights a greater issue, at least in my opinion. And by the way, as we're going through all this today, if you enjoy the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It is always really appreciated. And if you are new to the channel or you have not already subscribed, every single day I got you covered with everything you need to know about Call of Duty. Maybe one day Ricochet does get some upgrades and we finally can combat things like this. You'll be the first to know about it by hitting that subscribe button and turning on those post notifications, joining us on the road to 1 million subscribers, by the way. But really what this does, like I said, is highlight a greater issue. We've now seen this exact same problem with the power-ups from Zombies on Fortune's Keep when those first dropped. We've now seen this exact same issue with the upgrades of the arcade mode. Basically, anytime Call of Duty goes to do something like this, where they add in special power-ups or alternative gameplay mechanics meant for an LTM, cheaters and hackers are going to be able to take those game files that correlate to these upgrades and use them as cheats and abuse them in places they're not meant to be used, in normal gameplay or in the completely different mode within Warzone and Resurgence and Battle Royale. And that's probably not going to change as long as, one, the Call of Duty HQ exists and Multiplayer and Warzone have these shared files, and that's not going to be going anywhere. Call of Duty made it very clear that the Call of Duty HQ is the way going forward. This is the way all the future COD games are going to connect to this. So the likelihood of the separation there between the two modes isn't very good. So what plagues multiplayer with cheats and hacks is going to directly do the same thing for Warzone as well. Also, it highlights the flaws of Ricochet, that this is such a common thing now. Same issue happening months ago is reoccurring now throughout the same methods, at least to my understanding. And it highlights again how Ricochet is much more of a reactionary anti-cheat than it is a preventative anti-cheat. If it was preventative, they would see that someone is loading in with a riveter that has explosive rounds on it, and that's not acceptable within Warzone. That's not allowed or available. They'd instantly be removed and banned, right? Instead, someone's able to drop into Warzone, spam this thing like crazy, get a gazillion kills and win the game with an explosive riveter, and then only after their spam reported a gazillion times, they'll get shadow banned, then reviewed, then banned manually, right? That is the problem with Ricochet. It's never forcefully stopped these things before they occur. It's always after the fact because of player reports or because of obvious cheats that are detected after, you know, someone does this for several games and ruins plenty of people's nights. So yes, as the Charlie Intel article alludes, this is just as game breaking as it sounds, and I don't really expect anything to change about this going forward. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of new LTMs introduce cool upgrades like this, which as a standalone thing, like I said, the arcade mode is really fun. I've played a decent amount of it in multiplayer and I had a good time. But then what's fun about it ends up going into the other modes because of hacks and cheats and because of Ricochet's lack of ability to stop them, and it becomes more game breaking and more harmful than it is fun and chill and a different thing to experience within multiplayer, right? The pros of the experience are completely overshadowed by the fact that because it simply exists, it's abused because Ricochet is just not capable of doing what it needs to do. So definitely not a great look. Hacking is just going to, I guess, continue to get crazier and crazier here within Warzone as we see more updates like this. Like, let's say, for instance, a zombies mode. The Zombie Royale LTM returns in the future, and you have Zombies Super Jump. Well, guess what feature is probably going to be used by cheaters and hackers? They'll be super jumping throughout the map when that becomes available. Hopefully something can be done about this. Who knows though? I don't really necessarily have high hopes, which sucks, but that's kind of the reality of Ricochet. That being said though, that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed, do me a favor, drop a like. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out to guarantee you're always up to date with COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.